Welcome to the Retire at New Heights podcast with Johnny Roberts. This is episode 107. I am Caleb DeLon, guest hosting today, standing in for Michael DeLon, and get to be here not just with Johnny, but also with Frank. Hello to the both of you, and it's good to be here.
Thank you.
Caleb,
Good to be
how are
here.
you? Good to see you, Caleb. You
Absolutely
got big
doing
shoes,
great.
big shoes to fill, man. I don't know, man. I think you can handle it though. You're a great guy, so I think you can do this. I'm interested to see what's all going to happen here. Could get crazy with Caleb, but we're excited.
Yes, it could. My dad's shoes are absolutely large to fill. I will do my best. So, the conversation today is going to be great. We're going to get to talk about trusts and estate planning and legacy and all that good stuff. Johnny, let's start here. You've brought Frank on because you've been working with him for about the past year or so. What was it a year ago this time that caused you to think that you needed to get connected with somebody who was an expert in the areas that Frank's an expert in? What was it in your business or with the people that you're sitting across from? What caused you to think that you needed to find someone to partner with like Frank?
Well, being in the financial industry for so long, I've always looked at we've always talked about legacy planning. And in that aspect, the part that we utilize is obviously the financial aspect of it and the insurance portion of things like that. But man, we had so many clients over the years that have just, been looking for that next thing, the trust, the that type of thing, a bigger legacy planning overall picture. And so, I was looking for relationships in my area, and you get some with attorneys, and nothing against attorneys or whatever, because they do great jobs. But, I didn't have a place where I just felt like, man, this is a connection that's going to really work with us totally together as a part, like a partnership, man, utilizing their resources and the great things they provide. So it's just like clients asking all the time. And I was like, you know, I, man, I'd love to be able to have this as part of our team. You know what I mean? Just be able to handle it all and help people out. So heard about Estate Pro, and man, it was just right up our alley. And I thought it's something we can work with. It's very user friendly, simple, but it covers all the bases. And it really helps us do a whole, we're not just doing insurance and investment strategies and all that, but a whole legacy concept for people. Because I believe in legacy and leaving people and your family better off than what you were. And a lot of people feel that way too. There's a chapter in Proverbs, which I've always went to, a verse in Proverbs says, a good person leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Not everybody in the world feels that way, but personally I do. And I think this legacy plan, man, helps people do that if that's their goal, right? Helps people accomplish those things to protect that. So anyway, Frank is here because he's awesome. He's been doing this type of stuff for years, and I wanted to have him on just to kind of, man, talk to us and ask him some questions and share. He's passionate about it, man. This is in his heart, right? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, man, what's in his heart's going to come out with how he talks and communicates and tells us. So, Frank, it is great to see you, man. It's been great partnering with you guys. You've offered a lot of things to not only me and our team, but our clients. So tell us about yourself.
I appreciate that. So in the sake of time, first of all, thank you for quoting Proverbs. I'm a man of deep faith, and the fact that one of the last things that Jesus said as he was on the cross to Peter, and that was, "Take care of my mother." And so that was the first real, I guess, beginning of legacy. And when you talk about legacy, one of the things that people don't realize because they don't know, they don't understand, is that if you don't have a plan, the government has one for you. And therefore, if you allow the government's plan to manage your estate, then your legacy is also going to be one of the beneficiaries of your legacy will be the state you live in. And when people hear that, they go, "What?" I said, "Yeah. The way the state laws are regarding set up for estate plan, if you don't have your own plan, is that the state that you're in, the judicial system is going to take a piece of your estate. And sometimes that can be 3, 4, 5, 10% or more, depending on the estate and the process that it has to go through. And when people hear that, they get, "What? I didn't know that." Well, that's
Hmm.
just a fact. And where we come from is I'm an entrepreneur. I've been very blessed in my life to see opportunities before other people did. And 17 years ago, I was made aware of this generational transfer of wealth that back then we were talking roughly 50 trillion, but today we're looking at over $100 trillion. Those dollars represent people, family legacies that, to your point, will be passing on to children and children's children. And again, based on the size of a lot of estates, perhaps children's continuing downstream based on how they manage those estates. So when I saw that, then it became apparent that something that people were missing was the fact that they were relying on what they had heard, hearsay, that having a last will and testament was all they needed. And so consequently, even though most people will acknowledge the fact that, oh yeah, I've heard about the importance of having a last will and testament, but still only 50% roughly have it. What's that tell us about the other percent that don't? Well, it's that age-old problem of procrastination. Zig Ziglar used to say, "When I get around to it, I'm going to do it." So he had a little round a disc made with TUIT on one side, and on the other side he had his business card. So when people would say, "Oh, Mr. Ziglar, when I get around to it, I'm going to do that," and then he would hand them the round to it, and he'd say, "Now you got it. You can't use that excuse anymore." And that really is fact. So people have been led to believe through hearsay that having a last will and testament is all they need. Well, why has that never been corrected in the marketplace? It's because it self-serves the government. Governments of every state rack in billions of dollars a year just in probate court fees, legal fees, attorneys' fees, and judges' fees, all these things that families are releasing that wealth to the government because they don't know. Well, over the past, decade or so, our country's become more and more aware of living trust. Now, an estate plan is not a document, it's a set of documents. The centerpiece of an estate plan is a living trust. I call it the centerpiece because that's what will keep your estate out of the government system of probate. That's what the other documents are, powers of attorneys, and they're all important. But what I want to for my family is I want to make sure, absolute certain, that my estate is managed after not only during my lifetime, but after I pass by my decisions, not the government, not giving a piece of my estate to the state, to the judicial system, but making sure that everything that I worked for, my wife and I worked for, goes where I want it to go. And you can only do that through a living trust that is properly funded. So when I looked at that opportunity years ago, close to 17 years ago, it was like, this is going to create a tsunami for probate courts. So how can we stop or impact that tsunami? Education. So our company, Estate Documents Pro, has spent the past close to 15 years. It took us over 2 years to build this, working with some of the top attorneys in the country that had to give us the language for our software engineers to build the software platform, because we didn't just want a simple template. We wanted something that would be, deep. We wanted it to be able to offer people many different options for their estate simply by answering questions. And that's what we did. It took us over 2 years to build it. We don't go direct to the consumer, as you know. We only work through financial professionals like you. And the biggest reason is because you have your clients' goodwill at heart. That's where you are. You are looking after your client's goodwill. You're looking to help them understand how to protect their goodwill, everything that they've worked for. You're all about protection. So it comes down to, and I heard this said right when you started this podcast today, the word why. The word why, I believe, is like the most powerful word in the English language when it comes to how we communicate with people. Why haven't you gotten your plan done versus the government's plan? And people do, what do you mean? Why would you not want to do your own plan versus the government's plan? Why goes to everything just about in life. Our parents said, why did you do that? Well, I just did it. Don't do it again. Or my spouse says, why did you do that? I'm sorry, honey, I didn't mean to. Why is a trigger word that will create psychologically in people's minds a query to want to know, what is this all about? So we launched Estate Docs Pro. We only work with professionals because you not only have your client's best interests at heart, but you understand financial matters. Doing the documents is software. You don't do it. You're not a lawyer. It's done by software, just like law firms use software. And I had an attorney just the other day tell me that we see the future of law going by way of software. So they weren't being negative towards us. It's like we see it. We are trying to embrace it along with you because technology is driving just about everything on the planet, especially here in the United States. So that's what we have. And your task is working with those families to make sure that their trust is properly funded, which attorneys typically don't do. And ask Google why attorneys don't fund living trust, and Google will tell you. So it's what you are able to do is help families manage their estate and get their plan, get their trust properly funded, and truly protect their legacy.
Wow. What do you think, Caleb?
That's an incredible just overview of what an estate plan is, that it's not a single document, but a whole set of documents with the living trust at the center. And that is the way to make sure that what happens to your estate is a plan that you put in place instead of one that the government has put in place.
I think, and Frank, maybe the next, because we're going to do a mini series here with you. To me, when I think of the estate planning and the trusts and all that type of thing, tell me if I'm wrong. Are there kind of like three basic pillars? Is kind of how I maybe communicate it, and maybe there's more. No government, it's private, no public, and it speaks for you when you can't. To me,
Perfect.
those are like three things that, man, if that's important to you, you need to have one of these. And it should be important to you. Absolutely, right? Like you said, man, I don't want government fails at so many things and it takes money in so many other areas. Why give money that's going to go to our family and our kids, right? And
No
so
question.
those to me seem like I don't care how much money you got with the properties and all. That's not really that's all important. But if those things are important, those are the bedrocks of why we want to do this and encourage people to do it. Man, you got to jump on that. I feel like,
And you're hitting, and I'm going to add a little bit more fuel to your fire. And that is, first of all, you either have your plan or the government. I mean, there's no other choice. That's it. The only other choice would be if you have nothing. And if they have nothing, they're not a prospect for you anyway. You can't help anybody that has no wherewithal. So if they have something, you're there to be a good steward, to educate them on how to be a good steward for their family. So the first thing that comes into play with the government's plan of probate is it's inconvenient. I mean, nothing with the government is ever convenient to you. They're going to set a schedule based on their time
Mhm.
schedule. And you, as the family, then have to be at their beck and call. If they have a hearing set up for probate and they want to change it, they can change it. And you may have changed your schedule. Doesn't matter. It's stressful. The only people that enjoy going to court are attorneys. That's it. They get excited about it because they hear ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Well, people going into courtroom, it's no fun. It's like, holy cow, this room has no windows in it. I don't like that. So it's inconvenient. It's stressful. It's time consuming. What about time? Time is your most precious asset. It's the only asset that you have that really is limited. And as friends tell me, and I learned this many years ago, this breath that I just took made me closer to death than I've ever been. So there you go. We're moving down that fast lane towards the end, a dead end. We're moving towards it. So it's time consuming, it's stressful, it's inconvenient. Oh, by the way, does it cost? Well, yes. Your estate, a part of your estate is going to become a legacy for the state that you live in. What might that be? Well, let's say your estate is worth gross. Now, gross, $1 million. That's not a big estate today. 20 years ago, it was. Not today, with the value of real estate being what it is. $1 million estate, counting your bank accounts, your 401ks, your annuities, your life insurance, your real estate, your automobiles. You keep adding on to those things, and you're at $1 million gross. Well, I have a gross value of $1 million, but I owe 500,000. That's not what the court wants to know. They just want gross because they're going to take their piece based on gross. So if it's only 5% of $1 million, that's 50 grand. 50,000 bucks that estate has built up that goes by way of the probate court out the window. You don't know where it goes. It's into that cloud that goes off into the sunset, never to be seen again. And people don't know that. I've had people tell me, well, when I got my distribution out of probate court, I didn't see that. Well, no, you didn't see it. They already took theirs. They take theirs and they give you what's left. And then the last thing today that is so important, and that's protecting your privacy. Protecting your privacy is paramount to a lot of people. When something's in probate court, it's public domain. So we got thieves all over the world that have access to the internet that can log into a courthouse and see your case in probate, not only know who deceased is, but they can find out
Mhm.
where that deceased person came from, what their, maybe even what their occupation was. They find out who their creditors were. They find out who their heirs are, who their relatives are. They find out all this information and they steal your identity even after you're gone. It happens. Over $4 billion, I think last year roughly, was lost through estates that were hacked, that were in probate court. Not to mention, a lot of companies buy the leads out of probate court, especially final expense insurance carriers. They will farm the leads that are in probate court to use them as leads for final expense. So, those are the four negative consequences and the three pillars of a trust. People say, how does a trust keep your estate out of probate? First of all, what does probate do? It determines who gets what. And that's pretty much it. If you have kids or disabled kids, it determines who's going to be the guardians. So you better have a guardianship form. Otherwise, the state's going to appoint a guardian. So those are the prime, and they make sure your creditors are paid. Those are the things that probate court does. So what does a trust do that's different? Well, first of all, it's you deciding who gets what. No
Frank, let
debates.
me ask
Yeah.
you this,
Yes.
just 1 second. Let's talk about that next episode because that's going to be a big conversation I want to ask you about going into
Okay.
what the trust does that's different because
Gotcha.
um,
Good.
I think there's a lot there and I got questions on that. I know my clients have too, but I think I come up with an idea about a book against government, The Room Without Windows. What a name of a book, man. I don't want, that just makes, isn't that what they do in jails when you're bad? They put you in the room with no windows, right?
Yeah. You
I
ever
don't
seen
want
a
to be in,
courtroom with windows? They don't put
no,
windows in
man.
court. No,
Caleb,
that's
you do
good.
books, man. I think that's a great title of a book, buddy. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Reserve it
I
right away.
appreciate that. We may have to do that when get it published and get it out there in your hands.
that's
Absolutely. All right, we will wrap the episode there and pick up next time and where this conversation's been headed.